everyone. Welcome to episode 2, season highlights. I'm Rita, owner of Rita Seps, and tonight we are going to talk about some of the flat to flow clinics I led this summer. Well, what is a flat to flow clinic? It is where we start with students on the flat water and teach them some introductory strokes, teach them how to move their feet around, and how to get comfortable on the Badfish River Shred. The clinic then usually segues to the nearest river, where we introduce them to some river skills and show them how to go with the flow. Tonight, my first guest is Tina. She lives in Squamish, and Tina and I first met on the trail wave on the Columbia River at my 30th birthday party. Tina and I's connection has since grown, and I'm going to quickly show you a little clip from my surfing birthday party. Just going to go to the end. I do encourage you to watch the full video. I will post the link in the comments shortly. Here you go, guys.
Oh, won't you please come and surf away with me? I used to be a good fish, now I'm just a bad fish, skipping school every day just to go surf a wave. Everyone says to me, you need responsibility. I simply smile and say, I guess you never surfed a wave. Oh, whoa, whoa, whoa. Oh, won't you please come and surf away with me? Come and surf away with me. Come and surf away with me.
Hey guys, so that was some highlights. You saw Tina and I surfing some waves. Again, a big thanks to Chris for making that video and sharing it with us. So without further ado, I'm gonna bring my friend Tina Curry live into the stream. Hey Tina, how's it going?
Pretty good, pretty good. How are you?
I'm pretty good. I'm really excited that you were able to join me tonight to connect and talk about some of the fun stuff we got up to this summer.
Yeah, it was nice to watch that video. That was an awesome recap. I just got super stoked.
Yeah,
I can't wait to go back.
Yeah, hopefully in March we can meet up and get some surfing in. So Tina, why don't you start off by telling us a little bit more about yourself and yourself as a paddler?
Me paddling started in 2011. I was lucky enough to meet Norm Hann Expeditions, and get my instructors. That was kind of where it all started. And since then, I have continued to work alongside him for the last 5 years here in Squamish. And guiding on Howe Sound, and also exploring other areas of the coast, such as Quadra, Gambier Island, and then doing a bunch of surfing stuff and all the SOAR camps. So yeah, it's been an awesome journey for me in the stand-up paddle world, and I'm super stoked to be guiding alongside with Norm Hann. And really, for me, where it started was in the water, flatland Saskatchewan girl. So the West Coast days have been something I've had to learn, not only on the water, but in the mountains. So yeah, I've been pretty stoked for a lot of years here in the West Coast.
Nice. Tina, so River Sup, I know you spend a lot of time on the ocean and getting out paddling and going touring. What introduced you to the river, or the world of river stand-up paddleboarding, and got you stoked on that?
Well, what got me into it? Well, number one is, yeah, I was guiding here on the ocean and spending time paddling on the ocean. But we have pretty awesome rivers here in Squamish, and I'm like, that'd be pretty awesome to paddle those as well. And I did know Norm did paddle them, but I didn't know how to get started. So he has these SOAR camps that I started to do. I think I did 5 of them. And the last one I did, I actually went to Canmore. We did one in Canmore. And then I took my river instructor's course in Canmore as well to be an instructor. But really for me, it's all about being good at all avenues of SUP, not just the ocean, but not just river, surf, a little bit of everything. I want to be good at it all.
Nice. Tina, what's your favorite river that you've gotten to paddle up to this point in your river stand-up paddleboarding career?
Oh, that's not a fair one. Oh, well, I have to say a highlight definitely might have been the slow can.
Yes.
Partly because that was when I realized that having a different board could make a big difference. As you know, I killed it anyways. I
Hell
did
yeah.
awesome on my ocean/river board. But yeah, getting on the shred in the trail wave afterwards was like, again, the second highlight. So yeah, the Kootenays definitely got me uber stoked. But also I got to paddle the Mamquam this year, kind of first time top to bottom. So that was another real highlight because I've had to earn those turns, as you say. So in terms of safety, I've gotten to the point where I really feel like I can go from start of a river to the end of the river. So Mamquam's been a big check mark off my list, and I got to nail that this year. So that was awesome.
And there's also a pretty rad little surf wave on the Mamquam, hey, that we were dabbling in on my last visit. I'm pretty excited. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about that, about your local surf wave on the river there?
Yeah, well, the local surf wave, Paula's is pretty awesome. It's a small little surf wave, and it requires the perfect height of water flow. So it's sometimes there, it's sometimes not. And when you visited, Norm and you and I were able to go park and play, we call it, on that river, and go from the top and kind of drop in. So I know you like to drop into it backwards. I tend to go forward and then slide in. So we have some different techniques. And then if you screw it up, you got to get in the eddy super quick if you want another crack at it. So it's quite a bit smaller than the trail wave, but yeah, it's super fun. But it does require a special height, which, you know, we got that special day, which was awesome.
Yeah, so speaking of those river levels, this winter I had actually reached out to Norm about me coming out and bringing the fleet of Badfish River Shreds, teaming up with you to lead a Badfish River SUP flat to flow style clinic in Squamish.
Yeah.
And so we got to work together, talk to each other a bunch of times, planning the clinic. But one thing that we weren't able to plan leading up to that clinic is the scouting and the environment, because I can't actually look at a river from Cochrane. I had to wait till I was there. So Tina, in connecting in Squamish this year, when you and I were scouting and I was learning about your rivers, what were some of the challenges that came up and are just proof that you need to know from a local before you get out on a new river?
Yeah, I mean, I think what happened is of course, Norm and I were guiding on the ocean somewhere else. We were out in Gambier Island on a guided trip tour. And so I had literally a day to get in there. So I counted on my local guides, Kevin and Eduardo, to meet up with you even the day before and hang out with them. And they got to show you the put-ins and takeouts. And then I got home and looked at the weather as you do, and realized here in Squamish, we're the most southern fjord, and we get a lot of wind, inflow and outflow. So one of our challenges is we pretty much have to get on the water early and get off the water early. Compared to, you know, when I've been in Canmore and the Kootenays, we don't even really think about the wind.
We go with the flow.
We go with the flow. So for here, yeah, the wind is a big environmental area that we need to consider in terms of our conditions, but then also the water flow. As you know, during that course, we got a ton of rain before, and that can just wash our rivers out real fast. And then I think in the same weekend, it was even getting to the point it was too low.
Yeah, it was too high and we couldn't go, and we were making backup plans, and then it was almost too low by the time we ended our clinic.
Yeah. So that was in a span of like 2.5 days. It was like, so we had a game plan. We changed it pretty much every morning and night. And I definitely, you got to know what those areas do in terms of local knowledge. So whether I'm paddling in Tavino or heading off to Canmore, I'm always going to search out for a local guide or someone that's knowledgeable in that area, whether I'm qualified or not. So that's the big takeaway for me always. And as you know, you came in and you're like, what? We have to go at that early in the morning?
Well, I was honestly blown away. One, by the amount of water that was coming down. Like, we had a high water year everywhere.
Yeah.
And that did impact a lot of my river clinics, especially on less dam controlled rivers, right? The Can here, I get pretty lucky with the Can and Harvey Passage. They seem to keep their flows in a pretty regular range. But I was amazed at when we were out scouting, specifically the Squamish River, the amount of large trees that were coming down pre-clinic. And you were talking about the winds and going early, and also how the tides would affect it. So it'd be almost like we're moving up river in theory. And so for me, I was grateful that you had all of that local knowledge, because coming to a new area, playing with rivers that are impacted by the ocean definitely was a new game for me. And especially on a river as big as the Squamish, I was so surprised at how strong those winds could get. So I think that the local knowledge was a go-to, and all in all, it led us to lead a very successful flat to flow clinic. We had a ton of good people. And so Tina, you and I got to co-guide together. So this was our first time that you and I got to work together. We'd only paddled a couple of times, but we got to, like 3 times or something like that. And so leading up to it, though, before we decided to take the group on the Manquam, you and I got to go down the Manquam with Eduardo and Kevin. And that was an awesome trip, because it was you hadn't gone down that many times, right?
No, I had done it once or maybe twice with Norm. Yeah. And then I'd done it a couple of times with Eduardo, and so I hadn't done it a lot, but I knew it like the back of my hand because I'd studied it on a map as well. So then after doing it, I knew where my hazards were. And for me, it was a highlight to be able to bring you and guide you down on it and show you, okay, if we teach or if we're going to take people down on this river, these are the things we got to look out for. So that got my stoke pretty high in terms of having someone like you come along down and me guide it. So that was pretty awesome. That was an amazing experience for me.
Yeah, and I thought you crushed it. And I remember you were telling me, you're like, okay, Rita, like, this is where you could get out if for some reason one of our students goes around the corner and you end up chasing them on a private adventure. And I was like, okay, check, memory photo of that spot. And you totally knew the river, and I love how you said it. Like, you knew where all the hazards are and where all the potential hazards could be. And so I thought that was awesome. And I hope that as that river community starts to grow, maybe it goes from flat to flow to flowing more, and that community can start to grow safely to be able to paddle on some of those more technical sections of the river. And so, co-guiding with you was amazing. I felt like we fed off each other super well, going back and forth and sharing different experiences from our mentors, Neil being one, and his draw stroke.
Tip draw. Thank you, Neil. I never got that tip draw if it weren't for Neil.
Right. And then, and all the stuff that you've learned in your past clinics with Norm and Chad. And I think that we all made a great crew. And so, Tina, I do want to ask you, from an instructor's perspective, what was one of your highlights over that weekend of the Flat to Flow Clinic?
Well, I mean, one of the highlights is that all that crew I brought together. They were part of my Coastal Stokes up Squamish here, the umbrella that I work under with Norm Hann. And, you know, they were people I had paddled with a lot already. And I just super excited to bring them onto a different body of water and learn something new. And obviously there's a whole crew of them. Well, it was a tight group. We had an amazing journey together on and off the water. So that was a real highlight, is just the people that were in the course. Another highlight was watching you nail down all the knowledge. And I mean, like you said, we co-guided really well together. I like the human factor of the ball game. And as you know, I was the local in the area, so I knew the environment. But I definitely, the people made that weekend just absolutely amazing. And the challenge of the water, you know, that's what river's about. That's what I love about the river, is that scouting aspect. And, you know, we get to play on it, but we have to stand aside and watch it. And I love watching it from the riverbank as well, and exploring and learning.
Well, before we segue into some of those amazing people to see what they thought about the clinic and even watch a little video, I do want to see, Tina, for you. I know that we are talking about goals for 2021, and Norm has actually already gotten our clinic on the website.
One person signed up already.
Yeah, one person signed up already. So
look out.
Getting ready for 2021 and your growth with river paddling and our river clinics, what's something that you're hoping to grow in your river world for 2021?
Well, I think for that river time, I'm definitely going to be in Canmore next year. Look out. The Widowmaker. I'm gonna nail it. So I'll put that. And then also the race course. I got to get through the race course. So that's another big personal goal of mine. And then I think for the clinic, you know, more teaching time. Right? You know, I got to sit aside and watch you kind of lay it out with putting my own personal spin on things. But I definitely want to take more of that teaching component. And yeah, letting you know that already now. So
Perfect. I love it. I love my voice will probably last the whole weekend.
Exactly.
I let you teach a little bit more, right? Nice. And so, Tina, with you coming to Canmore then, before we segue here, does that mean that I can consider you an official participant in my Can I Surf That, Can I Send That game on the Kananaskis next year?
Hell yeah.
Yeah, you gonna surf and send every single feature with us?
Sounds good. I'm there.
Yeah. All right,
you
girl.
know it.
Nice. Okay, so Tina, 2021, I'm excited to teach with you. Thank you so much for coming and sharing your highlights tonight. I can't wait to see what we get up to, and hopefully you and I are able to connect and surf some waves in the spring.
Yeah.
If you guys want to paddle with Tina and I, check out Norm Hann Expeditions website. The link will be posted in the comments after the show. There's already one spot taken, so I feel like this clinic might fill up soon. So I'd get your spot soon. Without further ado, I'm going to show us a little video of the clinic that we led in Squamish. So thanks for joining us, Tina. Make sure you stick around in case Louise and Tracy decide to say hi.
Okay. Thanks, Rita.
All right, here it goes. Nice. That was some of the highlights from our Flat to Flow clinic. I'm going to bring in my next guest. So Tina did all the work getting an amazing crew organized, and she shared with us that one of her biggest highlights was actually the crew that came out and participated and got to paddle the river with her for the first time. So next up, in my special guests are Tracy and Louise, and they were two of the participants in the Flat to Flow clinic in Squamish. Hello, ladies.
Oh, you're turning it on. Hello.
How are you girls doing tonight?
We're good. How about you?
I'm pretty well. I just had an awesome chat with Tina, and I can't be more excited to come back to Squamish next year and hopefully see you girls out here in the Kananaskis area, because I heard a rumor you're ready to get a little bit sendy.
Yes, we're going to the soar.
Definitely. Yeah.
Nice. Make sure you guys bring those dry suits.
Oh, yeah.
You mean the matching ones?
Yes, those ones. So Tracy and Louise, I have said that you were students in the Flat to Flow clinic in Squamish, but why don't you tell us a little bit more about yourselves and why you guys like stand-up paddleboarding?
Well, we like just to be out on the water and getting the fresh air and all the challenges and all the beautiful places that we can actually go to, which is just so incredible out here. There's just endless places. Yeah, so I don't know. Why else do we like it?
Okay, so well, we've been paddling for like almost 9 years, and it started out with a friend and basically a beer on a board, and that was our first few adventures out. And Tracy and I quickly realized, yeah, we want more than this. None of this renting at 10 o'clock in the morning. We went out, got our boards. We're up at 5:30 in the morning, 4:30, out paddling. And for the first time in 30 years, enjoying our oceans. And it was just incredible. And it's also introduced us to all of our backyard lakes that have been around. We've been around for so long. We just never went to them. And now we're exploring everywhere.
We've been looking for community people to help us get better at it.
Yeah.
And Louise started up with Norm 3 years ago.
3 or 4 years ago, we found him because we were just trying to find a lake to paddle in and Squamish somewhere different, and we ended up having to charter an airplane to find it because Norm Hann had this guided tour, to Phantom Lake, and that was kind of how we found Norm, and we chartered our own plane just because we wanted to try things.
Is this the plane story with the photos that I have that are?
Yeah. Sorry, I kind of.
Oh no.
Yeah, it's all good.
Yeah, so you went on this plane story to go find the lake,
and
so that I guess is going to segue us into you giving me a little bit of what maybe inspired you to one day want to paddle the river.
Yes.
Yeah.
Take us there, guys.
Am I taking them?
Oh, so we chartered the plane, and on the way there, we flew over this amazing river that just was endless and gorgeous looking. And on the way back, Louise said to me,
I want to paddle.
I want to paddle that river.
Okay, but I will interject. So this is this one? No. Yeah. Okay. But this was the second plane we chartered. And we went to Glacier Lake. So this is actually Alouette River. I was so amazed by looking at the Squamish River. I never took a picture of it. But when you're that low and you're going through the mountains, it just seemed so close that I was like, well, we're going to go paddle it. Like I really thought that we'd go and rent a helicopter next time, get dropped off somewhere at the top, and then just paddle our way down. So fortunately, we've met with Tina, who kind of educated us
that we just don't do that. Thank God.
We park and play for a while.
So then when we saw the course advertised on Norm's website and Tina told us about it, we were like, we're on it.
Yeah. And now we know we will not paddle that part of the river for some time, but that's the carrot.
Nice. Okay, sweet. So you flew over the river, and that's what inspired you to want to get river skills. So Tina puts the call out. You're signed up for the first Badfish River Clinic, and I'm on my way there. That means that you guys would have been on your way to get ready for the river clinic. So let's say those, maybe those those days leading up to the clinic, did you have any nerves? What were your expectations? How did you feel before we all met that first night to get out on the ocean and learn some flat water skills together?
Well, I was nervous, something new, challenging, not knowing what to expect or who you were. I knew I was in good hands with Tina. So it was like extremely exciting and nerve-wracking for me, but I was totally stoked to get on and learn something new.
I repacked my bag about 6 times.
We overpacked.
Gear checked about 4 times, still showed up without a leash once. Thank you very much for backing me up. I know where the problem was, where the mistake happened. It won't happen again. But yeah, the lead up to it is like so exciting. And as soon as we knew we had it, we concentrated more on our fitness and our health. Like we just wanted to be in like peak form, right? Like just on it. Like everything's kind of like, I don't know if the word fishbowl, but it's just tunnel vision really into what we were going to be doing. And I had some nerves about me because we did try another river course.
We failed.
No, we just didn't pass.
We didn't pass.
So Tracy, I
didn't die.
Well, no. Hey, yeah, you were here to come paddling with us.
Yeah.
And then you maybe learned some more safety skills to keep you safer and have more fun in the future.
Yes. We learned so much. It was so amazing.
What was incredible is how you and Tina absolutely, and Eduardo, we felt like, I don't think any of us even thought about it except for the fact that it just seemed like you guys had worked together so many times, right? Like it was just
meshed so well.
You guys meshed so well, and safety's so huge in my game, right? So huge. And I've always been the safety person, and I was able to put my trust in you guys. Like it was huge.
Nice. Well, that was a follow-up question I was actually going to ask Tracy, because she said that she had nerves because she hadn't met me before and knew she was in good hands with Tina. So Tracy, by the end of the clinic there, did I end up calming those nerves? Will you put your faith in me again?
Fully. You saved my ass. Thank you.
Yay, girl. Anytime. Anytime.
Okay, in your introduction, that turn where you said if you were going to lose somebody down the bend on the Mamquam.
Yeah.
Almost.
Yeah, almost.
That is it.
But hey, and that's why Tina and I went and scouted the river, and she showed me if we went on our own private adventure, we would just where we could call for a shuttle pickup and get out safely. And hey, the good news is we didn't go around the corner, and we got to stay and keep paddling with the rest of the group for the day. Hey?
Well, I mean, and kudos to you guys. Like Tina and I, whole thing unfold, and it was incredible to see how fast the reaction was.
Fast and professional.
Because Tracy had the truck keys, right, on her?
So that was the real concern.
All these people that you have watching don't really know what happened.
Yeah, so that was the real concern. We were worried about those truck keys. I get it. That's fair. Well, that's amazing. And I'm glad. I hope to paddle. Well, we did get to paddle again soon, but before we talk about that, let's talk a little bit more about the clinic. So you guys came to the clinic on the first night. We met at the ocean. What was that first experience? So now you get to meet the girl that you don't know yet. And we're going to practice some skills on these boards. And Louise, you had some thoughts on the boards.
I was like, does she know the boards are bent? Who is this girl? Should we tell her the boards are a little bit bent? Like they were, I had no, it just did not make any sense to me. I was, yeah.
The rocker board, but by the end of the week,
I love them. I mean, it's like as soon as we're on the MAMCOM, it was like, oh.
Yeah, as soon as the water was moving, right?
As soon as it just was like, you wouldn't want to be on anything else.
Totally.
Yeah.
And you felt so stable and you were able to make your moves.
Yeah.
I've
sure.
never ridden a board that wide.
Oh.
It was really, really nice. Just to feel that secure on the board. Yeah, it was really awesome.
Oh yeah, no, it was great. It was a fantastic board to be on.
Did you guys
easy to adapt to?
Nice. That's awesome.
Oh, shit.
Oh, what? Oh, I think they froze. Hold on. Let's see what happens. Hold on. Tina's ready and standby. She's waving for me. Here we go. They'll come back. So, Tina, you've been listening down there while Louise and Tracy shares some of their highlights and adventures. I've just been watching you giggle away. So,
oh, my gosh. I ate a plate of fries, actually, while we did stuff.
So while we wait for those girls to log back in, because they did say they might have a couple technical issues, why don't you share a Louise and Tracy highlight? If it's not a river highlight, then you can just share us any Louise and Tracy highlight while we wait for them to come back.
Oh gosh, a Tracy and Louise river highlight. Well, actually, after all the Bad Fish Clinic was all done, the first thing they wanted to do was get back on the river, right? And as you know, we didn't get on the Squamish River on the weekend you were here. So I promised them, I'm like, as soon as the levels are good, the hazards were clear, I'll get you on that river. And sure enough, we were able to do that. And I was able to get them down 20 kilometers with Eduardo being the tail guide. And we found this little surf wave area to play around some rocks. So I was just super stoked to see them surfing that little wave. So that was a super big highlight, was getting them down the Squamish River after.
Nice. See, guys, I told you we'd be prepared. So, Tina, thank you for sharing that. Hey, no, you're all good. Yeah, that's awesome to hear that after the Flat to Flow Clinic, that their passion for the river had already started to grow and they were headed down the Squamish with you, Tina. And I know that that's also one of your goals, is to get out with more people on the river and share your passion. So thanks for
safely.
Safely, exactly. And that's good for me. So thanks for jumping in and sharing that story. I'm going to jump back to the ladies here. And nice. As soon as you said I got ready with like backup plan. So Tina was ready to fire. And so we were talking about some of your highlights in the clinic. So first thing was getting used to this completely new paddleboard, and first not understanding, like, it's so turny and it's big and it's bent and it's on the flat water anyways, it's not going anywhere fast. But by the time we got to the MAMCOM, you guys had really started to feel comfortable on these bigger boards, and we're learning how to do self-rescues on them, ferrying across the river. And so for you guys, throughout the whole weekend, there was a progression from learning how to do eddies and ferries and swim, to feeling more comfortable in bigger waves. What were some of your key highlights over the weekend on the river?
Well, definitely my big one was I actually could ferry. Well, not the last time, but most of the time I was ferrying. That was a huge accomplishment. That was really, I wanted to learn that. So I was happy with that.
I think I was really happy that I could handle the volume of water, because that underneath, when you start to feel it, you get to have this new respect. It's like, it's fun to see it, on the side, but once you're on it, like, there's hesitation on the side, but once you're on it, it's like you're committed. And that volume of water was it was a lot for me to kind of conquer a bit of a fear, I think. And just with all the skills that you were teaching us and the repetition, the fact that you had us jumping in the water on day 1.
Yeah. No, 2.
Day 2. Yeah. Jumping in the water on day 2, just without the board was really big. And then when we were in the MAMCon and you made us just fall off the board, that was a really good learning lesson to help me look forward and just start to just gain more skills instead of just having fear the whole time. Do you know what I mean? Like it was really good. The way you built it up was amazing. And I mean, I just went in there just wanting to, have a little bit of Squamish River, there's like a little check mark, and being able to do that, it's allowing me to know that I can add a little bit more. And the repetition, the park and play, that really helped. Like by the 3rd and 4th last ones, I was like starting to get the groove, right?
We needed another day.
We needed the winds to bugger off.
Yeah, true. Yeah, so that we could go exploring different zones.
It was amazing. I mean, like there's no one thing. It was an all-encompassing, just amazing feeling coming out of it, and feeling like it was just well worth everything that we did to get there.
Nice. And so what's your goals? You said you guys have already registered for SOAR Camp in 2021.
Yeah.
And since then, your goals obviously were to paddle the rivers. Why don't you tell us a little bit more? You guys got out with Tina. She just told us a story about you fighting over a little surf wave. So how many times have you been out paddling since that river clinic?
Oh, lots. Well, we went down the river with you. I did. Louise couldn't. And that was my baby little surf wave I did there. And we haven't been back on the river since, but I've been out on my board a lot.
Nice. But you guys also went down the river with Tina since the river clinic, didn't you?
Well,
yeah. And we went with our Eduardo. Yeah. And we went. Yeah, it was awesome.
Oh, that's right. We went right after.
It was fantastic. Yeah. It was a big one.
We had lots of way more confidence that time going down.
For sure. And between Eduardo and Tina, they said, okay, you guys have got the skills. We're going to let you play with them. So they just had a lead and a tail, just, to make sure. And basically they just kept giving us the guidance and then pulled us over to the side to, play in eddies and, just work on a few things. And yeah, it was really good. Like that's what's so amazing about this, right? That little section of water that you,
nothing. Go ahead.
No, keep telling us. It was
that little section of water allowed us to have such an amazing big 20-kilometer paddle afterwards, right? Like there was just so many skills that were learned in that little section.
Yeah, because we didn't go anywhere, right? That day we just
it was amazing. And Tracy and I put a lot of like long hours of paddling in, just so you can build up the endurance and the strength, right, to be able to put in those paddles. So yeah, it was really good. Yeah, there was a big train that we went through. I mean, that was like, I almost like needed a mouth guard. Like I just had a lot of work done on my teeth, man. Like next time, give me a heads up.
Nice.
I crushed it though.
You guys both crushed it, honestly. Like I thought that whole weekend was amazing. And so before we transition to hear a little bit more about some other flat to flow clinics that I led, I'm curious, and we'll start with Tracy here. What do you think so far is your favorite thing about stand-up paddleboarding on the river?
My favorite thing on this, well, I think it's the whole thing going down the whole river, being able to accomplish either on my knees or hopefully not on my ass, mostly on my board, to actually get down it safely, sightseeing and through some currents. And just, I don't really have a special spot on the river. I just like the whole aspect of the whole thing, the moving.
Nice.
As opposed to the wind hitting me going back.
Great. You know what? I like that too. I like going down with the flow as long as the wind's not pushing me backwards too. I'm right with you. And you know what, Tracy? My answer would have been probably really similar. It's the whole thing.
Yeah.
All right, Louise, what is your, if you had to say one thing or the whole thing, what's your favorite thing about the river?
My favorite thing about the river, I have to say, is it's probably my worst thing, but I'm always looking at my surroundings. Not necessarily always the water, but just where we're paddling through. It's just, we live in an absolutely beautiful province. And there's so many other places, right? It's not just where we are, but this is what we have. And I absolutely love that. I love how we get to access that on the water, right? It's just, it's beautiful. It's super challenging. It's super scary. I always have to go to the bathroom at least 3 more times, before I get on there. But and now one quick thing is, the one thing about our crew, we all went in there and I think we're all really totally nervous, but by the end of it, I mean, it was like Tina's right. It was a tight crew. And we all knew that we'd conquered something really cool there.
Yep. It was
really amazing. Yeah.
It was really amazing. Nice. Yeah. I can't wait. I can't wait till spring when you guys come to my zone and we get a paddle on the Kananaskis and maybe at Harvey Passage together, and we get to share some more river highlights. And don't worry, you guys can borrow one of my bent boards so that you can river shred it all over the place.
You just need a longer van.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, so they're not getting smushed in my trailer. You're right. But thank you guys so much for coming on and sharing some of your highlights. It was an absolute pleasure to visit with you. And I hope you still hang out below in case we decide to bring you back for a goodbye soon. And so I'm going to say goodbye to you guys as we get ready to transition to my next guest. Thanks, guys. We'll see you.
Thanks, Rita. You rock.
All right, so that was Louise and Tracy, students from my Flat to Flow in Squamish. Another awesome Flat to Flow that I got to teach this summer was with Translucid Adventures in Jasper, Alberta. Allison, the owner, had reached out to me to see if I wanted to come out and lead a river clinic. And of course I did. I want to see the river paddling community grow all over the Rockies and all over BC. So before I chat with Amanda from Translucid, I'm going to start by showing you guys a video with some of the highlights from that Flat to Flow clinic. I'm here in Jasper, Alberta with my good friends Translucid Adventures. All right, guys. So I'm going to bring in Amanda, and she's going to tell you a little bit more about herself.
Hi.
Hey, Amanda. How's it going tonight?
Good. How are you?
Pretty good. So, Amanda, I will let you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit more about how you work with Translucid Adventures.
All right. Well, I'm Amanda. I started paddleboarding in 2016 when I started working for Translucid Adventures. Translucid Adventures is a stand-up paddleboard school in Jasper, Alberta at Lake Edith, one of the beautiful lakes, nice mountain views. I started working there in 2016. The company's been going since 2015. We focus on a lot of education, so we do lessons, tours, and rentals as well. And that's how I got into paddleboarding on flat water. Though being kind of more of a high-paced environment type of person, I kind of wanted to do something with a little bit more adrenaline-inducing kind of consequences, I guess. So that kind of brought me onto the river. I saw these pictures and videos of these people bringing these boards down rivers, and I thought that was really cool. So that's how I got into river paddling.
What was one of your first river paddling experiences?
One of the first times would be going with a group of friends down a section of the Athabasca River that we actually, one of the sections that we did during our course, which we'll be talking about. But that was one of like the more of the mellow class 1 experiences. And my takeaway from that was going with the flow was really cool. And that's kind of what turned me on to that. But in the same aspect, I really like knowing how to do things safely and efficiently, which is what led me to take a course with Neil in Canmore. That was my first really instructional experience in whitewater stand-up paddleboarding, and it opened my eyes to all these hazards and stuff that I hadn't even really realized because I hadn't spent much time on the river before.
Nice. Neil is the river sup guru around here. Like, he's my mentor, and I've learned so much from Neil over the years. Like, what a great person to have your first sup instruction and experience with. I can probably almost imagine exactly how it went from all of the river ones that him and I have taught together. So, So how long ago was that course with Neil?
That course would have been in 2017, in the fall of 2017, September-ish.
Nice.
After that, I, had kind of only kept it up a handful of times going back onto the river. But it was really this past season that I rekindled my love for paddleboarding on the river, doing a little bit more this summer and this spring.
So I don't know. So if you do, maybe share, but I don't know actually what led Allison to give me a call. But she reached out to me. I think it was maybe even about a flat water instructor's course or something like that. And the next thing you knew, we were picking dates to book a flat to flow clinic in Jasper.
Yeah.
that went real quick. So do you know what led to that inspiration there, Amanda?
I think that it came from finding out about you through Neil, I presume, and through Instagram as well, seeing a lot of your Instagram footage and how you're an instructor, and we were wondering how we could get you out to do a course for us, and we're so stoked that it worked out.
Yeah, honestly, like, it was, so I rolled up to the Athabasca and I was just amazed looking around at all the water and remembering some of the slides that I clicked through on my natural history, like the interpreter course of the Athabasca and how it flows all the way to the Arctic and the 3 rivers coming off the ice fields. And my mind was exploding because I had never looked at the Athabasca River or Jasper from the headspace of teaching a clinic there or even really paddling it before. And so showing up to see that and then arriving at your guys' most beautiful lake paddling site, you guys could see my mind exploding as we were going to get out and teach and review some of those flat water skills, which I think was, you let me know what you think, Amanda, but I think that was a really good way to get connected with our new group and have some fun. And a lot of our group, they they weren't like Tina's group that had taken a bunch of courses before. I think some of them had, but most of our students were pretty new to paddleboarding that took our course. Do you remember?
Yeah, so we
There you
did
go.
have quite a few people that were paddleboarding. So I think it was really, really great to have everyone all together on the lake. First thing, that was one of my favorite things about seeing the way that you were setting up the clinic, was starting off on the flat water, you know, where everyone can talk to each other and hear each other and learn the strokes that you need to use on the river, but in a more chill environment. I think that was super important and useful.
Yeah, and it
For
was
sure.
super fun to watch everyone trying to like fiddle around and with the river shreds, and they're like, these boards don't make any sense, and we're all like, well, they will tomorrow on the river. And yeah, no, it was such a fun group, and I just remember being taken back the whole night about how beautiful it was. And so after that first night, it was high water season, right? So every day we were getting out and we were actually paddling the river. And so we had the treat, you, myself, Lolly, and Allison had the treat of actually doing a little bit more of a sendy section on the Athabasca. So do you want to tell us a little bit more about tell everyone a little bit more about the fun paddle that we got to do? I believe it's the mile 5 stretch. Is that the stretch that we did?
Exactly. We did the mile 5 stretch. So we started up at the mile 5 put in, which has a really nice eddy. So we were able to do a little bit of ferrying practice and that kind of stuff, which I think is always super useful. Get the legs warmed up a little bit. And then we went down through Becker's Rapids, which are kind of the bigger rapids that you can find in our section of the Athabasca River, which is always a good time, especially at high water. And yeah, just trying to hold on. So, good time.
Yeah. And so Amanda, for you, like as a Jasper local, that's probably one of the more fun stretches in the Jasper area, as well as one of the more sendier stretches. Is that if you had to pick a stretch to go do after work, is that your go-to trying to practice stretch?
Definitely for what it is and its proximity to town, I'd say it's definitely the best.
And so that Becker's Rapid, I feel like some of those waves might be surfable in there. Are those on your list to try and surf some of those waves in the future?
Yes, actually, I have gone back and attempted a couple times. Liz and I, the students from the course, we've gotten together and gone out to, as we say, park and play, which is super useful to keep practicing. And trying to get on those waves and trying to practice surfing has been awesome.
Nice. Yeah. And I think that that's just, the more you get out and practice, like eventually everything's going to click and you're going to figure it all out and the buttons will work. And the next thing you know, we'll be having a surf comp at the Becker's Rapid. But let's go back to the clinic. So first night we were talking about being on the flat water and how it set all of the students up for success. And your role, Amanda, in this clinic was half co-guide, half learning how to run these clinics, because you have you're inspiring to be a river instructor and lead clinics just like this, hopefully soon, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So we went out and you, myself, and Allison were all out there as guides, and we took them on the Athabasca for the first time. And I'll be honest, as an instructor, I found the environment quite challenging because the water was so high, the eddies were minimal, but we were able to get people safely introduced and on the river. And so, Allison, what do you think some of those highlights were, either for yourself or the students on that first float down the Athabie? We went, just so everyone else knows, we went below Old Fort Point down to the 6 Mile Bridge.
Yeah, down to 6th Bridge,
which is
which is a little bit more of a chill section. but it was really great watching the progression and watching the students just getting into the quicker water and seeing, you know, maybe a little bit of fear turn into a lot of fun. I think that was super rewarding, and I think that it was awesome.
Yeah, I do think that it was awesome. And you're right. Like, we definitely had some students that were hesitant. And I think that the environment, a higher water environment, can make people hesitant. And that environment, you know, although we did get to go down the river on our first river night, after we got attacked by a bazillion mosquitoes and everyone handled it like a champ, it started raining. And it was like someone opened a hose or a sprinkler and was like dumping buckets on Jasper. So we were already at pretty high water in Jasper, and it rained buckets all night. And so the water ended up actually coming up so much that we decided to cancel our clinic and postpone our final day for the future. And it was a really cool experience for Amanda and I to actually talk through that and see what it's like to cancel a clinic. And Amanda, why don't you tell everyone? So while we were telling everyone the clinic was canceled, there was some exciting things conveniently going on the river behind me.
It was like the exact clear example as we're talking about why it might be unsafe to go down the river. Here come these big logs floating down the river. I mean, it couldn't have been more obvious than that. These, not logs, like full on trees coming down the river, you know, and it was a clear example, and we were able to talk through it and talk why, you know, how do we avoid these hazards? Sometimes the only way to avoid the hazards is to just postpone paddling, you know, and it was a great learning experience. The whole clinic for me, it was a great learning experience.
Yeah, and I think that was what it was for all of the students, because they ended up, most of them were able to come back to our rescheduled day, and we got out, we played, and we actually got to run down a larger section of the Athabasca from the Alpine put in, is what you guys are calling it. Yep. And it was an amazing clinic. And so I can't actually wait to see where that Jasper River community grows. And before we wrap it up with Amanda here, I want to see what have you been doing, Amanda, since that river clinic to help you get you closer to your goal of becoming a river instructor?
Well, for starters, just going out and trying to get on the river as much as possible, whether it's actually running the river or just parking and playing. That is just one of my favorite things to do, just going and practicing eddy turns until I really feel like I'm dialing it in and I have it nailed. And that was one of my big things for this season, was practicing enough that I really feel confident doing those skills, as well as going down to paddle the can with you. That was one of my big highlights, and really learning how to surf and actually standing on a wave and surfing a wave for the first time comfortably was a huge highlight for me. I think that was, I'm pretty sure like I had this exact smile on my face the entire time. It was great. Such a cool feeling, and just I'm just so inspired now to want to do more.
Nice. It honestly, it feels so good when everything starts to click and you start to feel it. And, for every time I have surfed a wave, I have probably swam at least 100 times trying. If it wasn't that wave, it was probably a different wave. Like, I feel grateful for every time I do get to surf, because trust me, I have done the swimming. And every time I do it, I appreciate it, and I learn to love it a little bit more, because every time you swim, you learn. Yeah. So Amanda, I'm excited for hopefully some more flat to flows in the near future, as well seeing where you grow, and hopefully you're a new river paddler that's going to come out. The can's flowing this weekend, so I heard someone could cover your shift, and you should come surfing. Yeah.
That like I love
Yeah. So thank you, everybody. I am going to bring back all of our guests before we wrap it up and say goodnight. So we'll let everyone say a farewell. Thanks, Amanda, for chatting with me about your river paddling goals, as well as some of the highlights from our Jasper clinic. And
thanks.
Yeah, no worries. I can't wait to paddle again soon. Let's see. Oh, here we go. Bringing everybody back. This is always the hardest part, the bringing everyone in. Here we go. Oh,
You did it.
there we go. We're all here. Nice. So thank you, everybody. It was a Flat to Flow week, and I really appreciate you guys taking the time to answer my questions and help me create a little bit of a live feed. If anybody does have follow-up questions, we will continue to answer them in the comments. And I do encourage you to go check out Tina and Norm's Coastal Stoke website, as well as the Norm Hann website, which I believe you asked get Coastal Stoke through the Norm website. Am I right, Tina? Yeah, perfect. Look at me go. And I can't wait to see Tracy and Louise paddling on the can soon. And who knows, they might even get to paddle with Amanda.
Ooh, that would be
He's
fun.
going to be coming, right, to paddle the can. So we'll hopefully all get to paddle together. And if you're curious about stand-up paddleboarding and rafting and how those go together, next week, November 18th at 7:30, I'm going to be interviewing my friend Brandy, Jared, the raft guide on the Badfish Babes raft trip, and my friend Kimberly Kenyon. So, thanks, bye. So, we will hope to see you all next week. Thanks, guys, for joining us.
Thanks, Rita.
Bye.
Bye, Matt.